Hit the mics, take a seat, it's about to ignite. Two dudes with the spread, keep your bets locked tight. Sports talk sharp like a razor blade edge. Numbers don't lie, no need for a hedge. Welcome to the greatest fucking show on earth. From the pitch to the court where legends birth. Plays and parlays, every wager's worth. Sit back, tune in, ride the wave of mirth. Game clock's ticking, we predicting the heat. Fast talk, faster stats, never tasting defeat. Breakdowns crisp, clear, a handicapper's delight. Rolling dice with insight under stadium lights. Feel the rush, odds crush and adrenaline flow. Front row seats in this betting expo. Chasing triumphs, breaking every curse. Welcome to the greatest fucking show on earth.
Hello, welcome to episode number 18 of the Two Guys One.
Joe, you went mute. Joe.
Podcast because we have a special guest. It's Joe. I got Tom here,
What's up?
we have my buddy Nate, who is a football guy through and through as well. And we are going to dive in and talk about the NFL draft. Super exciting time. I will say this: as much as I love football, I was never really a big draft guy, right? And then a few years ago, the Seahawks, when they traded Russell Wilson, they had like two top 15 picks or something, maybe even top 12. And I really started tracking who are they going to take and all of that. And I think I've kind of gotten into it a little bit more. So I do follow it. I practice some mocks and stuff, which is kind of enjoyable. But what about you guys? I know, Tommy, you've talked before about the draft. Sometimes depend on how good your team is, right?
Right. I mean, when you're going through 14 years of no playoffs, and it's like you're out of the playoffs in November, you start digging deep, looking at cornerbacks from Troy and defensive tackles from wherever, but and you learn to love the draft. So I've always liked the draft. I grew up always looking forward to it, and it being a big deal. So, in matter of fact, in my family, we everybody who has season tickets, we put a bet out. We each pick a player. We do a snake draft of 2 rounds of possible players that could be drafted by the Bills, and we put $10 in the pot, and whoever gets it right gets $10. So we even make it put a little juice on it.
Nate, you probably get into the draft, right? I mean, I know you watch a lot of college football too, right? Probably, definitely more than I do. So
yeah, I mean, all the way back in the college, probably in the early, 2099. I worked at a bar in Rochester and played football at a college in Rochester, and we would shut down the bar and go there, and we made a huge thing of it. Kind of made people making their picks in their first round, like we were the only ones doing it, right? Everybody else,
like close the bar down to
outside. It wasn't even open at that point, but we that day it was open for us, so we would go in there and kind of hang out, play music, awesome. Have the draft, have some drinks, whatever. But yeah, it's always been fun for me. It hasn't been so much fun the last decade, even though we've had a high pick, because I'm a Giants fan, so it's been rough.
It's not as fun when you're a top 5 pick over and over. Then it starts losing its fun.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
to get to that top 5 pick, it's not fun to get to that pick.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
What?
Then it starts losing its enjoyment.
Totally.
What about the Patriots? During that stretch, right? When you're good every year, the draft is almost
well, even Belichick was just trade picks, just trade out. We got the 30th pick. We're going to trade out of that. We'll have 3 third-rounders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
I would certainly trade my position for what the Patriots went through.
Yeah, everybody would. I would trade anything to be not interested in the draft. Right. Always.
to have no interest because
no interest.
We basically have a second rounder, more or less.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I love when they put out the first round grades, right? The teams have their first round grades or the mock.
Yeah.
Oh, there's 18 guys with the first round grade, and if you're 27, you're basically we're
They say basically 15 guys in the first round after 3 years will be on their team, or still have that first round grade. So I mean, half the teams are gonna be happy in 3 years.
I know, and I know Tommy and I have talked about stuff like this before. If you go back 4 years ago and you look at the third round, right?
Yeah.
You're just geez, like, who are these people, right? I mean, there's 4 or 5. So there's
There's always going
three
to be a
that
guy
you
or
know.
two.
There's 3 that you know. Then there's probably 5 to 7 that are on a team, and you're like, all right. I mean, I don't know the left guard on Tampa, right? But they're there, and then the rest, you're like, poof, they're just practice squatters or gone, and it's just it's crazy. That's why sometimes when these teams put so much value on the draft pick, sometimes I
I know,
wonder.
you're a Rams guy. Like you would trade all
Uh,
for a guy you've already established in the league. You would trade anything for him.
I heard today. Now I know he comes with a little baggage, but the Lions, possibly Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Nate, what do you what do you
wouldn't be
think?
interested in that?
I didn't hear that, but I mean, again, when you're taking guys with risk, it's what is it? It's risk reward, right? Sometimes you look like a genius, like who was the one dude, sort of Tunsil or whatever, when the draft day came
Yeah.
out,
Right.
when
When
he had the
you always have that guy. He slipped.
he had
He had a mask, right?
the bong mask and everything,
Yeah.
on, and now he's like.
And all pro.
He's had a great
no one
career.
remembers that at
So,
all.
but then you got other guys who are supposed to be like model citizens or people that can't miss. Obviously you used the greatest bust of all time, Jamarcus Russell, right? He had it all, but I don't know. It's funny how it works out when you have so many variables, and a guy with a bong mask on his face does great and has a great career, and then other guys that are squeaky clean end up being just complete disasters.
You
I mean,
never
the
know.
Jameson Williams one. So I can't remember what he first got. The first time he got in trouble, I don't remember.
He was gambling, right?
No, I think that was the second
Was
one.
second?
Yeah, I think it was the second time.
Was
But
it?
the
I mean, I'm assuming doping or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like, so I wonder if I could find it quick. But like the second one was like almost like it wasn't like he was like gambling. Like I think he was like he might have been like betting on something, but he was like in the building,
He was
right?
in the building. Yeah, you're not allowed to bet anything on.
They
in the
wound up
building.
actually like lessening the sentence, right? And listen, these guys they're kids. They're not choir boys, all of them, right? Like if you told me like, hey, this guy's betting on a baseball game, like it'd be hard to hold it against them, right? Like I completely understand you're a professional athlete. It's not allowed to happen. You're not supposed to be doing it, but I don't know. Right now, if I was a team that needed a wide receiver, Seattle, I would be curious as to what that asking price is.
Right. I 100% agree. I mean, they drafted for first. They're not going to get that. I'm not sure where he's at with his contract. He's probably got one or two more years. I think he might be in that. He's getting close to the. Got to put him in the window, the 5-year.
Yeah.
I still think you get him pretty cheap for at least one more year. So, yeah.
I'll say this: when he is on the field, that dude makes plays.
Yeah.
Even was it maybe his rookie season or like he came back.
Yeah. He started late.
He
He
didn't know-
was injured. He was injured coming out of college. He started late.
Yeah.
That was his issue his first year.
But I mean, to your point, Joe, like you said, you're not looking for choir boys. I mean, look at the NFL's history and look at their, kind of their track record. It's guys that can perform, and NFL teams are going to put up with garbage from somebody that produces, opposed to garbage from somebody who's maybe kind of a borderline guy, right? And
Yeah. So his rookie season, he played 6 games when he came back, right? 9 targets,
Right.
1 catch, 41-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Bomb.
Yeah.
And
He's
then
I think that's the issue they're having with him, maybe a little bit. He is kind of a one-trick pony with his route running tree. I believe.
last year though, I think he changed that a lot last year. He had stuff over the middle. I mean, he had 1,000 yards on that team, right? Who runs the ball a ton. And you got Amara, and you got tight ends. I mean, he averaged 17 yards a catch, 7 touchdowns. Third year, this is going to be his 4th. Man, I don't know what the asking price is, but I'm interested. Now, listen, if he's going to be one of these guys that's like, hey, I want, 28 million. I don't think he could command that with those numbers.
No, not as those aren't those kind of numbers.
He was a first round pick.
Yeah.
What is your cap? What is the cap situation for Seattle? Are they in a good spot?
Yeah, they got a ton of money.
Yeah, they got money.
Okay.
I mean, they went from not having money to having a ton of money. Man, I would.
He's one of those guys. You get him for a third or something like, especially like a third. You give that away in a second.
Oh, no, Brett. I mean, it's guys like this. No, again, he's had some issues, but he's shown that when he's in this league, he could play. Right?
You get him one more year for cheap before you got to decide on the fifth year, and then then you can still get him cheaper for 2 years basically. So before
I mean, listen, I bring him in, and if he's if he's barring a total disaster, I want to extend him, right? Like,
Right.
let's extend him before it gets to the point where he's asking for 30, right? I mean, right now, if you're his agent, can you turn down?
So you'd be willing to bring him in on like a prove it deal?
No, I'd be willing to trade for him and either possibly extend him or halfway through the season, give him the 5th-year option and then extend him.
How old is
Yeah,
he?
I mean, I'd play him this year, see what happens, and then you
Yeah.
got the fifth-year option, or you can sign him. That's what I would do. I mean, you get him so cheap
I
this
kind of
year.
agree with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do anything with his contract this year because he's super cheap, and then
Yeah.
you got the option for the fifth year, and if he plays outstanding this year, then you can make him a long-term offer.
So you're saying after this year?
yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do anything this year.
Yeah, but at the end of this season,
At
if
the end
he
of the season, if whoever's team he's on, I have a feeling he's going to be a Lion still, but sometimes they throw these things out there, just a little bait.
Oh, the garbage that's out there right now, as far as just
Oh,
smoke
yeah, yeah. I
screens
know, you
and
gotta-
just lie after lie.
I-
Let's
But-
get into the lie after lie. Let's
Yeah.
get into the draft.
all right, we'll jump right in. Let's roll through. First pick. Doesn't seem like there's a ton of drama with it, right?
No, this
But-
is the one. I think there's one pick in this draft before it gets interesting, and I think Cam Ward's the pick for the Titans.
Yeah, I mean,
Levis just didn't do it. I mean, you can only throw the ball backwards so many times before they've decided you're not the guy we want.
yeah, they may have seen enough,
Yeah,
and it was a short window for him. But I mean,
it really was.
I
But
think the
we've
only
seen this before with Arizona, and so it's not they don't give you long anymore. You get 2 years as a starter, and you don't look like you got it. If you got the chance to get another guy, you're right. Quarterbacks is everything in this league. So
unless you're
draft another
unless you're the Giants.
unless you're the Giants, that's right.
I mean, I think the only drama around the first pick is I mean, just watching him, he would have been my choice if the Giants hadn't won the worthless game against the Colts. I think the Giants would have been in those first 2 picks. They've done it 2 years in a row now with your boy DeVito, Joe. But I think
Cutlets.
I think the only drama is if Cleveland or the Giants make a move up, but I think that would have happened by now, or it would have to be something absurd to get up there because I think he's going to be a good player. He looks pretty calm. Seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. I just kind of like how he is in the pocket. He's got a great arm. He's a big kid. I mean, again, who knows? But he looks the part, in my opinion.
Right. No,
They-
I agree with you. I think he's
don't-
the only quarterback in this draft.
I don't think teams can afford to. I don't know. It seems crazy these teams that. I mean, he doesn't seem like. They don't talk about him like he's like that surefire,
Right.
thoroughbred
No,
type
I don't think
guy.
there is
So,
that
like,
one in this draft. There's not.
Like, correct, and the price to now again that doesn't mean they can't be, but like the price to move up in the top 10, like when you're trying to move, it's crazy. It's insane.
It's insane. They asked the 49ers when they moved up for what's his name, who
Oh,
horrible, but one of the worst trades ever too. I can't remember his name, but
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. Yeah, I mean the guy was awful, but they gave up 3 first-round picks for him. I mean, unbelievable.
Well, Joe, that's like you said. Like, if it's your guy, we've talked about this before. Like, if you think that's your guy, then you give up whatever you think. You give up whatever if you think that's your guy, because he could take you to the promised land for the next decade. Or if you again go in a situation where you miss on a quarterback, you're set behind probably for a decade.
No, you're right though, because I have said that before. I remember I was making this case about Manning, right, next year. That I mean, if you're convinced this is your guy at that position, that's the only position. I don't know. Again, I don't know if 3 first-round picks. I don't know if it matters, right? Like there are plenty of quarterbacks that have proven. Surround me with some players, right? Like you can't have total garbage, but surround me with a couple guys that are professionals that can make plays, and it doesn't necessarily make a difference, right? I don't know how much it matters when Peyton Manning was in his prime, who you're lining up out there. You know what I mean?
Not necessarily, but like to my point is, if you miss and you give up three first-round draft picks, I mean,
yeah,
that is a decade of just. I mean,
Well,
that's right.
That's the amazing thing about the 49ers because they missed, but they got Purdy as the
Oh,
last
they
pick.
lucked out. I mean, that's
lucked
that's
out.
lightning in a bottle. That's rare.
It is crazy what happened to them because
I
it
know.
should be
Terrible.
just it should be awful for they got so lucky. I mean, not that I'm a huge Purdy fan, but he's obviously a capable quarterback.
Yeah.
Correct. I believe me. There's plenty of days as a Seahawks fan that I'm just like, God, like they would have been so.
Hey, you did get Drew Lock back.
That's right. We like them too. We like them. Now we're shopping Howell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man. So first pick, Cam Ward. I think it's pretty much consensus. After this, good God. I mean, I think this is one of the most intriguing drafts because of this, right? Like
because of Shador, I think it makes it interesting because all these teams do need a quarterback. It makes it very interesting. If I'm the Browns, I'm listening to every call that comes in. I think you can get, as we just said, you can get so many picks for this spot for somebody to move up. I mean, unless you love Hunter or Carter that much, which everybody says it's Hunter, I'd be listening to. I guess we're not talking trades because we're just going to take a guy here, but I'm listening to everybody who's possibly interested in Shador.
Nate, what do you think? So
there was a lot of.
Coach,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nate's coach football. What's the? I mean, I know it's happened before. Mm-hmm. What is how realistic do you think it is for Hunter to play both sides of the ball?
I mean, it's tough to say, man. I mean, who's the last person that really did it effectively, right? I mean, Woodson from Michigan. Years ago he did a little bit of it.
Yeah,
but Deion did a little bit of it for a little while.
Not a ton.
Just going to corner. It doesn't happen that often.
No, and
I think he's going to play corner, and then he'll sprinkle in the wide receiver.
Yeah,
that's the easier way to go. I mean, and it makes more. I mean, there hasn't been too many top 5 wide receivers, but it makes more sense for him as a corner to be drafted in the top 5 and then play some wide receiver. And then it kind of makes a little bit more sense.
There was somebody.
I think that's the route it will go.
There was somebody that broke down kind of his stats, Hunter, compared to Woodson, and it wasn't even close. Like some of the things he did offensively and defensively, just like his receptions, the touchdowns, the picks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was and Woodson was a fantastic player, but like Tom said, he did it. It was very minimal in the NFL. I don't think you can expect to have somebody do that. And be super successful. I mean, I agree with Tom, too. I think he's more of a corner, and you sprinkle in some offense. You put him in the slot. You do some different things with him in some packages. But, I have heard there's been a lot of smoke around today saying that there's a lot of people shopping for the second and the third pick for both Cleveland and the Giants, which makes me, again, think that the Giants are just trying to get some picks and not necessarily interested in Sanders. I mean, the thing I have with Sanders is who is he if he doesn't have Deion's last name? You know what I mean? Like, what quarterback do you compare him to? Because I don't think he has an exceptionally strong arm. I don't think he has exceptionally good pocket presence. He seems like he's very high maintenance. And he played at Colorado, and it's not like
Yeah.
I mean, the last game against BYU, I watched him closely because they started having all this smoke about, the Giants and Sanders. I'm watching him.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, don't take him. And I just don't think he's even considered a top 10 guy if his name isn't Sanders.
I agree with you. I look at him as he came into college. He went to Jackson State, a D2 school. Mm-hmm. Couldn't even get into a D1 school to start.
Wait, could
Basically, I
Like,
think he started at Jackson State because his dad became coach there, and then the same thing. His dad goes to Colorado, and obviously he's put up good numbers, but it's just I agree. He has that last name Sanders. He's played decent at Colorado. He had a lot of weapons around him. I remember watching Nebraska. Now he had a bad offensive line, and you watch some of these games like against Nebraska. He just looked awful.
Yeah.
Couldn't no pocket pressure. Gets sacked a lot.
And I'll give him that. He did not have a great offensive line, for sure.
He did not have a good
But he's also throwing
What-
one of the most talented athletes in the country.
right.
So he did have some
Hunter-
weapons,
back to Hunter. Wasn't Hunter the guy that like he could have went D1, right? But he went there because of
He was the number
Because
one
of
recruit in the country, I think,
Yeah,
at one
that's
point.
what I
And it was
thought,
just
but
such a
he's there
huge
'cause-
because Dion went there and somehow they got him.
Right.
Yeah.
The latest I've heard is that Cleveland really likes him, but
Yeah.
I've also heard that they really like Carter. So again, it's just you don't know what to
I
believe
mean,
at this
so
point.
if you're Nate, you would think, right? These teams, like you're bringing him in on these privates, right? Some of these top teams, and like that's a conversation you're having, right? Like, listen, we see you doing this, right? Like, I'm wondering if. I mean, are you guys are saying the cornerback thing because you think he's a better cornerback?
I think he's
Then
going to be I think it makes sense at that pick to be a cornerback, and I think if you could, I think he might. He's still going to get, I think 5 to 7 offensive plays, maybe 5 to 10.
Yeah.
You'll be in the game for those many snaps still, but
plus, is it easier? You think, Nate? I mean, Nate would know better than maybe me and Tommy. Although Tommy, you played for the great West Seneca,
yeah,
and
don't call me short.
I also think it depends on the team too, right? Because if say the Giants take him, right? The Giants have a higher need at corner than they do at receiver right now, right? Because then you've got Neighbors, you've got Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, Slayton's okay. They're not in a bad spot receiver wise with the Giants. At corner, I mean, they brought in Debo there from New Orleans.
yeah.
The other corner spot is kind of Deontay Banks kind of sucked last year, so they're kind of in need for another corner. That's why I mean, again, I think it might be dependent on the team that drafts him too.
Yeah.
If you
You
go,
think it's easier? You think it's easier to say, "Hey, you're a full-time corner, and we can sprinkle in some
Yes,
defensive
it's
play."
easier.
100% because
Then the other side, where you're a receiver, and maybe we'll bring you into a couple high-pressure defensive
Right,
situations.
100%.
No, it's 100% easier.
because
You think it's-
corners, if not the toughest, it's one of the top 2 or 3 toughest positions in football.
Well, and plus you're staying on the field all the time, right? And then it's like, listen, here's a package of plays. Learn these 6 plays for this week.
Yeah.
If they come up, we can get you in. You know what I mean? I think
he's
it's
gonna
got
be
it.
in the
It
game.
was harder.
At anything, he'll be in the game for decoy or whatever. He's going to be in the game on offense. 5 snaps a game easily, but
Yeah.
But it seems more awkward to me in a high pressure situation in the third quarter on a big third down when you're like, all right, I need you running in on this nickel package or
Right.
this dime package. Like the wide receiver thing seems to be easier where you could sprinkle some
For
in.
sure.
I mean, Cleveland, let's be honest, they probably have needs all over the place. I mean, they're
yeah. That's
Although-
true.
what can they go? Can you go Carter if you're them?
Initially, I had heard stuff
I
earlier that they
think
really liked Carter, but you put him opposite
Carter and
Miles
You got
Garrett.
Miles Garrett. You got a little depth. You already spent a lot of money at that position.
True.
I mean, if I'm going to pick between the two, just on that team, I'm going to go Hunter. But that's me.
No, I think that's a great point, Tom. They just spent a ton of money.
Yeah, a
On
lot
that
of money.
position.
Like the most money ever spent. on
Right.
that
Right.
treasure, so.
I mean, do I love the idea of those two coming off the edge?
yeah.
Yeah, but you're gonna have some cap issues down the road if you.
I mean,
Yeah.
Carter is considered the best player in the draft by a lot of people.
Carter's up. Maybe by the time Carter's up,
Garrett's gone.
Garrett's
Maybe.
coming off, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
that's probably true too.
Did Garrett come back there? Did Garrett come back there with did he come back there? Do you think part of him coming back has to do with them getting some sort of quarterback, or do you think it's really just he
Nah,
was
it's
just
money.
that and he wanted the money?
Well, I mean, he was talking about how I just want to win. I just want to win. I just want to win. And then the next day he's signing with Cleveland. So clearly he doesn't just want to win. The money
Yeah.
was somewhat important, and I mean, I'm sure he thinks that the team has some sort of plan, but
Well,
I mean, if we
let's
talk to
just
Tom, you
about
talked
their
about
plan.
bad trades. That's picking up Deshaun Watson that is the pinnacle of piss poor trades. But would they give up like all guaranteed money
All guaranteed money,
All,
3
all
first
of
round
it.
picks.
or 3 first-round picks,
Yeah.
and you got massage problems and a bad Achilles? That's a terrible combo.
And he's their only really option next year. I mean,
Yeah,
you're talking about how we're saying they shouldn't draft Sanders, but it's him, it's Pickett, and it's Flacco. These are your
I don't
options.
listen. I'll say it. I don't hate the idea of giving Kenny Pickett a chance.
Oh,
I do.
that's
I'll
good for
say
you,
this.
Joe. Good
What?
for you.
Yeah, you're alone.
I'm
You're
saying
alone on
this.
that one, homie. I can't, dude. I've seen
Wait.
plenty of him.
You think they should play Watson or Flacco over Pickett?
I'd play Flacco,
I would play Flacco too over Pickett. I mean,
and I don't love Flacco.
I haven't seen anything out of Pickett that makes me say this is a starting
But
quarterback in the league. At least I've
in
seen it out of Flacco, and in Cleveland I've seen it. So
Joe, you're too
Nah.
caught up in the world. You're too caught up in the world of Geno Smith that
No.
sucked forever, and then you
Baker-
guys somehow pulled out of your ass like a good season or two out of him. You think that can happen with everybody, and I don't think it's happening with Pickett.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying there's a chance. There's some upside.
There's always a
Flacco
chance.
is chucking the ball around all over the place. Picks, touchdown. Like he can't move. There's no. You're not winning the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco,
correct.
and I'm not saying you're winning it with Kenny Pickett, but
So you think
at least
you think they go?
possibly getting an
So
answer.
is there a chance that Sanders the quarterbacks go 1-2?
I
There's a chance.
It's not happening.
I don't
They're
think
not
it's happening.
doing it.
I don't
No,
think
but
it's
to
happening.
but to your argument, right? Like
They don't have a quarterback. I don't know what
Definitely
they're
not a
playing.
quarterback. Well, they have Watson. They still spent a lot of money on that guy.
Come on,
of
man.
money.
I'm just saying he's their number one going into the season.
Is he even gonna? Is he healthy? I mean, is he even off?
No,
yeah,
he's healthy.
right.
Not going to be.
I think he had a re-aggravated his Achilles.
Yeah,
That's what I
there's
saw.
zero chance that guy. He's done. He's done.
All right, I'm just saying. So, all right, he's done. He's not ready to be ready next year. So it's Pickett or Flacco, or we draft a quarterback here.
I think it's
And
Flacco.
We don't love Sanders enough to even draft. We're gonna go with Pickett.
Yeah. Well, maybe they grab someone in the second. I mean, they
That's
got
true.
it early, right?
Well-
Maybe you go in the second. I just know this. If I'm them, I have to find a quarterback, and I can't play Joe Flacco. I just can't do it. I don't know where.
They're in a similar.
You know,
I think they're in a similar situation as the Giants, right? Like, okay, could they take a quarterback at that position? Yeah, but I could also see both Cleveland and the Giants either trying to trade back up into the first for like Dart,
Yeah.
or sitting in the second and grabbing like Milrow, or the kid from Louisville, maybe what's his head from Syracuse.
Yeah.
You know,
He's been getting.
there's some options, but there's two organizations that are just kind of in a bad spot, but in a similar spot.
So all right, we're gonna say Hunter goes.
Hunter.
Let's get to the Giants. Giants are on the clock. Nate's a Giants fan. Nate's favorite team in college is Penn State. Is this? I mean, this is just a marriage.
Yeah, it works out well for me. I think
I
Carter.
hate Penn State.
I like I like Carter. I think he could be I think he could be a Parsons type of a player. He's explosive. He's twitchy off the edge. I mean, the last semifinal against Notre Dame, he was playing with one shoulder, and I think he had like 3 sacks and like 8 tackles. So he's tough. He's from all accounts a decent dude. So, you know, putting him on the opposite side of Burns as a Giants fan, I'm not super impressed with Thibodeau up through his first few years. He had, you know, the second year he did pretty well. You know, I think he had 10.5 sacks, something like that. Last year it went down. I do like Burns. I wouldn't be shocked, and I saw some things where if the Giants try to package Thibodeau in a deal for some picks, but you know, even if you didn't, the times the Giants were the best in the most recent history is when they had, and I'm not saying that these players are these players, but when the Giants had Umenyiora, Strahan, and Tuck, right? You had 3 defensive ends that could move around, play the 3 technique, play off the edge, and it was tough to block them. If you maybe put something together like Thibodeau, Carter, Burns, and then I mean Dexter Lawrence, I don't think he gets enough love. I know people talk about him, but the amount of pressures he gets from the nose guard position is insane. It's even more so than even like when Aaron Donald's one of the best defensive tackles to ever play the game. He had like 80 pressures last year from the nose guard position, and that was like I think the year before he was on pace to do that again. And then the next closest nose guard was like 26. It's absurd what he can do. So I mean, I'm fine with Carter at this pick. I'm a defensive guy too. So I feel like if you bring another good pass rusher in, you've strengthened your secondary a little bit with Holland and with Adebo from the Saints. I think that'll help the offense. Again, obviously one helps the other, but yeah, I think at this point, if Hunter goes, then I think Carter's kind of the no-brainer.
You ever have guys in sports that you like whenever you watch them, they look awesome. Like there's certain guys like I'm like in baseball, I'm like, this guy's got to have 80 home runs. Every time I turn on Sports Center or whatever it is, this guy hits a home run. That's Thibodeau for me. Whenever I've seen, there are times that he looks unstoppable. Like he'll just rip through and make this play. I was like, this guy's a monster.
True.
I mean, maybe the consistency part's not there. He's another one. If I'm a GM and somehow, they take Carter, I'm calling on Thibodeau. I at least want to see what the asking price is.
And I'm not saying I don't hate him, but I just don't love him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's, that was I think Shane's first draft, right? He grabbed Evan Neal and he grabbed Thibodeau, and Evan Neal has been just I don't know what they can't develop offensive linemen, they can't pick offensive linemen.
Neal's been awful.
Awful. And they should have moved him to guard 2 years ago just because he doesn't have the feet to be a tackle in the NFL. I mean, it was, you'd think you'd pick a guy from Alabama that didn't give up a sack in his career. Like, okay, this is going to be, this is a solid pick.
How bad? No.
And now you see him take a pass set and like he's got guys turning him around in a 360. And I'm like, how is that possible? So
I mean, you play on the top teams. It's not like they're playing D2 competition, right? Half of their schedule is versus monster other college teams, and that's crazy. It's so that's what makes the draft so fun is that it's just like there's so like you said the variables and like you just can't predict how it's going to go. It's just wild.
It's great drama, but it's also super disheartening when you're in a situation like again I've been for the last probably over a decade now where it's just been like. You're just not. The scouting department doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, do we have the right guys? And then, I mean, how many head coaches have they had in the last 10 years? Right? I think three.
Listen,
3 GMs.
Yeah,
that doesn't help anything.
And Seattle and the Giants are equally as inept at developing offensive line guys and drafting them. Seattle does the same thing. I mean, we draft them. And it's just a mess. It's a mess all the time.
And it sounds cliche, right? But I mean, if you have a really good offensive line, right? Okay, look at what Purdy does behind a very good offensive line.
Yeah.
Right? You can take a good quarterback, and it's going to make them great. It's going to make a great quarterback maybe a Hall of Famer because Brady usually had good offensive lines for the most part. Didn't have great receivers, but he had decent protection. I think it's just so important.
You just need enough. You just need enough to get through 2 or 3 progressions, right? If you can get through 2 or 3 progressions.
I mean, 2. I mean, really, it's 1,000. I mean, by the time you hit 3, the ball's got to be done.
Check down, right? 1, 2 check down. Yeah. And I mean, listen, that's where I say all the time, like, I'm kind of a believer in like whether it's I know the Wonder Look, I don't know if they even use it anymore, but like some sort of cognitive assessment of the players for this position. This is the one position that I think you have to be able to process information. You need to be able to recall what you've seen on film, recall tendencies, and be able to make quick decisions. I remember when the Bills drafted, I want to say it was Lossman. No, it wasn't Lossman. EJ Manuel.
Oh yeah.
And on the draft, they're like, I mean, in college, they basically didn't have him look to one side of the field. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on?
Yeah.
We're already saying that he can't make decisions fast enough and read. So I'm just going to go here. I'm like, no.
So that is an
Yeah,
argument,
that
right?
works.
That is an argument, though, right? So I've heard some of that about Dart too, though, because he's in Lane Kiffin's offense is basically like get the ball, one read. It's
Yeah, it's like quick. They want to get the ball snapped within, 15 seconds, play to play,
Yup.
and then it's quick.
so it kind of takes the cognitive ability out of it, right? So it's almost
Sure.
just kind of read and react. And
But I don't know if you can do that in the pros. I mean,
don't think
you
you
could
can.
probably get away with some of it in college and stuff, but
yeah, but that's
that
tough.
would
But I
that would
mean,
really.
if you're gonna hold a gun to my head for the third pick, I'm gonna say Carter's probably the guy for the Giants.
I agree. I think and I've heard he's the probably number one prospect in this draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get away from quarterbacks and everything, So I think it's a good pick. And you look at how teams. You mentioned the old Giants teams, but just look at the Philadelphia Eagles and
Yeah.
watching them play Mahomes. It was beating them right up the middle,
Yep.
quick pressure up the middle,
Yep.
and
That's a-
you understand why these teams want Franklin and a nice edge rusher. It's not going to make them a playoff team right away, but it ain't going to hurt them.
No.
It's definitely a piece they need.
But your point is very valid too. I mean, it's great to have edge rushers, but the worst thing for a quarterback is pressure right in their face.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that way, okay, where I can't step up. If I
Yeah.
want to peel out, I've still got the edge.
Yeah.
So pressure in their face is the worst.
I mean, listen, if they're getting pressure from if you got Carter and Burns coming off the edges,
And Lawrence,
I was going to say you're not stepping up
No.
too often. Not with Lawrence out there. I mean, listen. I don't know if it's that crazy. Man, I just love him bagging on Nate because of the Giants. But I don't know if it's that crazy to say with those three up front, got to stay healthy.
yeah,
Neighbors looks like a monster, and Wilson at quarterback that they can't be a playoff team. NFC's not crazy
No, it's
deep.
not that great. Nah, I agree. I mean, Wilson's. I mean, I don't know. Wilson. I don't know. I want to
see.
say that you're right, but I watched Wilson just lose the last 5 games of the year last year, and so. But I agree.
I'm
They
saying
help-
to possibly get into playoffs. Listen, I think Washington might take a little step back. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know about that. I kind of disagree with you
I
there.
think they're going to be better than the Eagles, to be quite honest with you. And
I know, I think I disagree
I think
with you there,
Dallas
Joe.
is going in the wrong direction.
Dallas is
Dallas
going in the
I think
wrong-
Dallas is going to. Yeah, no, I
think
do.
Dallas is a
You guys are that. You're
six-win
that
team.
high on Washington, huh?
yeah. I think Dallas is a 6-win team this year. I really do. I think
Oh,
they could be terrible.
6.
I think they could be
Depending on
really
what they.
bad.
I think Daniels.
I don't
I think
know.
Daniels is that good.
Yeah, I think Daniels is that good. I haven't seen
He
anything.
had
out of that
wait
guy.
a minute. He had a lot go right for him last year. A lot. I mean, they won 2 games that they really didn't win. Right? Like, listen, we've seen. Listen, Seattle's been this team before. The Giants, the year with Daniel Jones, like you're not that good. You win some games you shouldn't. They had the Bears Hail Mary game, and there was another game maybe versus the Eagles, or I just can't. They won it. I'm not saying he's great. 2 years ago, I watched. I hate when I go brain dead. Who's the quarterback? Who's the guy in Houston?
Oh
Kurt.
no.
Oh yeah.
What's his head from?
Ohio State
Ohio
guy.
State kid.
Stroud.
Yeah.
Stroud.
Yeah.
Stroud looked so good his rookie season. This year, I'm like, man, this is it. I think they get some video on guys. I think they get a chance
Stroud's
to
not
process
as
it.
mobile. I think you're wrong.
All right, well,
Yeah,
listen,
there's always the sophomore slump, right? Everybody, there's that out there. But I think Daniels. It makes me like even more upset. Watching last year on what was it? The Giants were on what was it? The HBO thing,
Yeah.
Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks.
And Shane's kid is like, dude, you got to take this guy. You got to
Yeah,
trade
that
up
was
for
the
whatever.
the greatest, one of the greatest moments in sports TV history is that.
Yeah.
The Giants had to single-handedly. Is that show happening? They had to have ended that show. Why would any team ever go on there after that moment? And
The
then,
Giants look good.
and then what about the one about Barkley.
Well, Barkley. Yeah, I mean, and again,
Where the owner, right? The owner steps up and he's like, "Listen, the one thing that I can't live with, I can't stomach, is if Barkley goes to the Eagles, right? Bam, it happens. They win the Super Bowl. The Giants have it. They killed the show.
I mean,
why would anybody go on that show?
I mean, I've the Giants had their good runs, the the '80s and the '90s, and even their couple of runs there in the 2000s. So I cannot complain, having watched them win several Super Bowls and whatever. But I mean, I was even talking to my dad, a while back before he passed, and my uncle. I'm like, were they this bad in the '70s? Was it this bad? And he's like, no, this is actually worse, because to your point, like, you get rid of the guy, then he goes to Philly, the most hated team. It's the Giants' biggest rival. He does great, wins the Super Bowl, and it's just.
It's bad.
But the way those two moments, if you're a GM, you would be absolutely crazy to sign up for that show, or an owner.
Yeah. I made it. It did not paint him in a real positive light.
No. I mean, you have your kids sitting on the couch just outdrafting you, just completely outdrafting you. Oh man, that was it was crazy. That was nuts. I look at that and I'm like, if I'm an owner, hard pass on that show. No, thank you.
I know.
All right, we go. Where are we at? 40 minutes.
Patriots.
Wow. Patriots.
Everywhere I've looked and everything I've saw, they're going to try to get that quarterback some help and some blocking, and they're going to take the top tackle in the draft of Campbell.
That's probably
that's the smart thing to do when you got a young quarterback, is get him some time.
And for a team like that, where right now we're no receivers are jumping off the board as being beasts. You can't, obviously you can, but you probably shouldn't draft a running back that early. They got good stuff with Gonzalez at cornerback. Like, I think the lines, the line seems like a smart move, right? Never sexy.
I'd be shocked.
Never sexy.
I'd be shocked if, just kind of based on how Vrabel played and how he coaches.
Yeah,
he would not take somebody in the trenches right now to protect his golden boys.
And it makes a lot of sense. This is what you want for your young QB.
Yep.
Not exciting, not sexy.
No, that's what you want. When the quarterback has time back there, it's awesome. So.
And I think May's going to be good. I think I liked him coming out.
I thought he looked good when he came to Buffalo and played. I was impressed watching him. So, give him some time and.
Five for Jacksonville. What are Jacksonville's needs? This mock that I just pulled up, which was, I think this one was one of NFL where I'm trying to see, these are the NFL Nation. I mean, this one has them taking Genty, the running back, but I haven't seen. Yeah, really.
I seen that too. I really hate it. If I'm a Jaguar fan, which I'm glad I'm not. The worst logo in all sports.
Do they have it?
The Jaguars jerseys. I hate everything about them. But nonetheless, if they drafted Genty, I'd be upset. They're not. Their running back's not their problem on their team. No. They gave up 40 or more points. I think, out of the first 5 games, it felt like they were getting lit up everywhere.
That fell apart a few years ago. Their defense was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's still what's his head? The kid from Michigan, Mason Graham, is a nasty defensive tackle that might help their interior.
I've seen a bunch of him too.
I agree with Tom. Running back
is
just
not a need. They have.
I don't
running backs that are decent. The Georgia guy and
they had ETN and a rookie here, right?
Yeah. There's actually I think a fairly deep draft for running backs. There's some good guys like that Scatabo kid from Arizona State. He's going to be there in the third.
Joe, remember Scatabo with on New Year's? We watched that boy just winning some money.
Unstoppable. Yeah, I don't see him going there. 6 for Vegas though. Vegas. What are our thoughts there?
Here's where it gets a little crazy. This is where you might see Shedeur Sanders come off the board.
Well, they just paid. That's not true. They just paid Geno.
They did, but at least I've seen some things where the Raiders could be a landing spot for him. I'm not saying it's happening, but this would be the first place that I think would be a possibility for him.
It
to go.
seems like a Raidery type move, to be honest.
Well, I think he's a Raidery type move. I mean, you could see. I mean, a Raider type move is somebody who's like a second round, third round grade, and you got to start looking.
So how much did they pay? And they said they paid Geno, right? I mean, how many years
Yeah.
left does he got?
Not many.
So I don't know. I mean,
I don't know, how old was he? 32?
he's older than that.
No, he's older than that. But I think, yeah, I don't think they.
They don't make that trade to draft a quarterback. They don't make
Yeah.
that trade to draft.
It wouldn't. I don't think they do. But it seems it does seem
I
Raidery
think it's
to me.
plausible. Not like
Anything,
it's
yeah. I'm
plausible.
never shocked if it happens.
I agree.
The Raiders always exciting when they're on the board because
Yes.
you're just like, I don't know what can happen.
Just give me the fastest guy. Seems to
Whoever
be.
passes. That's why Genty makes some sense.
No arms, but he is fast as
Yeah.
hell.
No, but Tom, that's a
He's
good point. That's why the running back. That's why Genty makes sense there. Maybe.
He does make some sense there. They do need a running back.
Yeah, sure.
They do need a running back. I agree. Yeah. I could see Genty going here. I'm not sure if I would take him here, but they do need a running back, and it's not a. He's probably the best offensive talent,
Yeah.
non QB in this draft. He might be the best without QB or not. He might be the best offensive talent in this
Yeah.
draft. So
This mock I have has them taking an offensive line. I mean, they probably could use
The
yeah,
kid from Missouri.
help all over the offense too.
The kid from
Yeah.
Missouri. What's his name?
Yeah, Membo.
Membo.
yeah.
Yeah. 7 Jets. Seen a lot of different stuff with the Jets, right?
Yeah, I see that offensive lineman going here too.
That's another option for sure. Yep.
Jets, they were giving up. It was surprising last year. They were terrible against the run.
They were-
I could see them going. If there's a D tack, I don't know if there's a D lineman anywhere. There's a couple edge rushers off here. I don't know if
The kid, the Georgia kid Walker, is pretty nasty.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I know they need some offensive line help, but they also got gashed against the run last year a lot when I was watching them, and they were bad on the line also. So
Yeah.
I could see them definitely just taking the next best offensive tackle on this board.
Yeah.
I've seen some of them getting. What about Nate? What are your thoughts on that Tyler Warren?
So I was actually gonna bring him up maybe next for Carolina, but watching him a lot, he was fun to watch. He's kind of a throwback too, right? He's not, kind of like your receiver, the kind of the model of what tight ends are today, where they're just kind of more big receivers than anything else. Like he's a big, good
Dude, this
blocker.
guy, when I watched him, he dominating.
Yeah,
Stop this guy.
the couple games that I watched, probably /bet Penn State.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all talking about him, and I'm like, sometimes I've said this to you before, Nate. I'm like, man, sometimes these teams, like, you just let the same guy beat you.
Right.
But he looked
And
outstanding.
they did a good job moving him around. I mean, they had him at tight end. They had a tight end. They had him at quarterback. They had him at running back. He was at running the option. So he's a big, strong, physical kid that can block, but he's also super athletic. I mean, I could see him. I could see the Jets taking a shot on him, or maybe Carolina at 8. I won't be shocked if he's a top 10 kid for sure.
Yeah, I think he's around the top 10. I could see Jets could definitely
Yep.
use a tight end. They don't have anybody there.
Especially if it's going to help with the receiving and the blocking. I mean, max protection situations.
Right.
I know.
I mean,
'Cause
I forgot
coming
about
up-
him, and I remember watching him. I was like, this guy is catching. It's the only guy they're throwing to, and he's open and he's catching everything.
Yeah, he's.
I know. There was a part of me that, like, every time I see these mocks and I see him so high, I'm like, damn, I wish he was like more like a 12, 13, because then maybe Seattle could make that leap from 18 up to get him,
Right.
because we always struggle with tight ends. But I've seen him to the Jets a bunch, for sure. This mock I have for Carolina has that Walker from
Yeah,
Georgia.
I've seen that.
Defense, yeah. Edge rusher I've seen from the Green from Marshall. Yeah. It looks like they're gonna go D-line somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, their defense was
There's a couple good other kids. There's a kid from South Carolina who's a pretty good edge guy, and then there's a guy who might be a little bit later in the rounds, a kid from Toledo who did really well at the Senior Bowl, who's just really kind of coming on late. So I don't think they'll be top 10 guys, but
Well, let's be honest. Jadavian Clowney's still playing for the Panthers. So
Right. Yeah. And what a career that guy's had. This
Yeah.
big buddy, hand over fist, just being average.
you just
Like a couple big plays here and there, but he's never been the guy you wanted.
No.
no.
Still out there.
So 9 is the Saints. We see a lot of I see a lot of Shador here.
Especially with all the car injury. So this is
Yeah.
where my stat comes into play that I told you.
Oh, let's go.
How long has it been since the Saints drafted a quarterback in the first round?
Oh, I think I read this the other day.
Hold on,
but
hold on.
I'll let Nate think.
I don't know if they got him in the first round, but was it Abear?
No. You got to go back.
Are we, are,
Is it?
are we talking Archie?
We're talking
Yeah!
Archie
Oh
Manning.
my!
Oh,
He was their last first round pick of a quarterback. That's in a league that is all quarterback. They have not drafted one in the first round since Archie Manning.
what year? Do you have the year?
That's-
I don't. I thought it was 57 years ago.
Yeah, I mean that's,
I think that's the
he
number I
was in
heard.
the '60s, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's unbelievable.
That-
It's an unbelievable number.
That's
It's
crazy.
an unbelievable number.
that's crazy.
So
I mean, consider when you say it, 1971.
1971.
Yeah, when you say it, right? When you say what Tom just said, this sport, the most important position,
Right.
and you haven't taken a shot. I mean, it's not like
Hey.
we're talking. I mean, I know they had Breeze, but it's not like
Before
we're
Breeze,
talking
they were
about.
the Aints for
Ever.
20
That's right.
years.
Ever.
It's
And they
not like
never drafted a quarterback.
it's not like we're talking about the Packers where you go from like Favre for 15
Right.
to Rodgers for 13. So you're like, okay, I mean, that eats up more than half of the number. I mean, it's the freaking Saints. What the shit? How do you not take someone?
Yeah, they were
that's
one of the worst franchises for years and 20 years.
That's
80s,
a
awful.
wild stat.
70s, awful. Besides Archie years, 90s, bad for the first part of it.
Wow.
I mean, that's
How is
probably
this possible?
it's hard. It's crazy. I said this to Nate a little bit in some of our discussions we had off of here. This is where I keep every expert I read says Shador Sanders is the most accurate passer in the draft, right? That to me is really, really important, right? Oh man, if I'm the Saints, I almost want to take a shot there. I just
Yeah, I think it depends if they know more on Carr's injury, what they're going to do here. But
Yeah, factor into your future. He
no,
certainly
I know. I listen. I agree with you.
Oh.
This is where I would maybe take a shot at him.
And I think there's two things. So I know he was sacked a whole bunch, correct?
Mhm.
A lot of times, sometimes with these numbers, like, you're sacked a lot, maybe because you're not throwing it away, which sometimes saves interceptions, right? Like, I remember I used to be even more impressed when Seattle had Russell Wilson in those couple years. Like, his completion percentage would be like almost like 70, right? And then I would watch every game, and I'm like, he has at least 4 throwaways this game, right? So, like, sometimes it's like, are you throwing it away, or are you running and trying to extend it and take a sack or do that? So, like, I don't know how much of that factors into his accuracy numbers,
Right.
because if you're not throwing risky passes or you're not forcing it, maybe you're just taking the sack. So,
Maybe.
yeah.
But this was one of the knocks of Darnold coming out, and it followed him to the pros. He had a great completion.
Careful.
And
Don't mess with Sammy the Golden Boy. He's there to save us. Save us, Seattle.
I'm just saying, Darnold remember he was seeing ghosts with the Jets,
that was-
and it was an issue coming out of college. They said
Yeah.
he took a lot of sacks, didn't throw a lot of picks, but took a lot of sacks, and it's fouled him a little bit. Not a little bit, a lot to the pros. That's one of his issues. So it is something. Yeah, I just do think it is something.
I mean,
And this is where obviously I think they have to you pay your scout team, right?
Right.
So like you're there scouting, watch all the video and make decisions, right? Track it.
yeah, I mean, it's obviously, I mean, a bad offensive line is one thing for sacks. Bad decision making is another thing for sacks.
Or lack of decision making, right?
Correct. So, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. You could be watching a game, you're like, oh, what is he doing? Or it could have been a bad route, or there was something else that wasn't necessarily the quarterback's fault. But
Yeah.
they go,
Yeah.
they nobody cares about that. That's just sacks are sacks, right? You can talk about
Coaches.
it, but nobody really cares.
The coaches do when they watch the video, right?
The coaches do, but your average fan is going to blame the quarterback or the,
For average fan, they got sacked
yeah,
six
or
times.
the line sucks,
Yeah.
they don't necessarily always know. But I honestly I hate ESPN anymore. I can't watch it just based on a lot of crap. I just think it's just too much fluff.
It's
But Dan Orlovsky does a really good job, I think, of breaking down quarterbacks. I like listening to him and how he breaks down the game. I think he simplifies it for people really, really well, and it's fun to watch him talk about it because it's like I know what he's talking about, but like he talks in a way where like your average fan can really kind of like, oh, I get it.
I'll be honest, love Dan Orlovsky.
I think
love him.
I think he could be a
I
coordinator
love-
somewhere.
You know who else I used to love the way they would do it? Trent Dilfer.
Yeah,
Yeah, Trent
When
was
Dil-
good.
When Dilfer used to do it all
Yep.
the time, I'm like, dude, I love this guy.
Yeah.
I love how you do it.
and were they any good in the NFL?
No.
No.
I mean Trent.
No.
was, but Orlovsky was terrible.
Oh, dude, he has one of the greatest plays
The
ever.
end zone
Yeah.
run is bad.
Dude, he's just sprinting, just running his ass
Just
off.
complete panic. Doesn't
Yeah.
see
Everyone-
anything that's going on.
Everyone else stopped. Like,
Never
I
meant
just-
to coach or do
Oh,
diagnostics
stop.
of plays, not play.
I love that play, dude. He's so legit.
He's great.
Was still ready to make a play.
great.
He was dying to make a play, and everyone else is like, "What's
Shocked
this guy?"
when the whistle's blowing.
Yeah, but
But I say this all the time. Maybe you don't have the God-given ability but to know what you're supposed to do or know what it's supposed to look like. Like I love Orlovsky, man. I love him.
he does a nice
All right,
job.
well, who are the Saints taking here?
Maybe
Because
this is
I
this,
got a
maybe
wide
this is where
receiver.
maybe this is where you get your
McMillan's number one wide
Sanders.
receiver. I don't see him taking a wide receiver if. I don't know. I guess they do need one, and he is supposedly the number one off the board.
Who, the
I
kid
watched
from-
him play.
the kid from Arizona?
put up yeah, he put up some points.
Yeah,
In
McMillan,
Arizona.
is that his name?
Yeah, McMillan.
Yeah, McMillan. But it's one. You get this wide receiver, and you got no one to throw him the ball is an issue. And we did this with when we drafted EJ, and then we drafted the next year. What's his name? One of the worst trades ever, too.
Watson or Watkins?
Watkins, yeah.
Sammy.
I mean, you can get the best talent in the world, a wide receiver, and you got an idiot throwing the ball, or he was a nice guy, but
I'll tell you right now, man. That stat is going to come up heavy on ESPN and draft night if they end up taking Sanders.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Dude,
That's like
I
I
hate-
can't get over that stat. That's wild.
I hate when my team when my team like drafts a guy and they're like so positive on him and they're like you can't miss.
Well,
And
that's
then-
not usually a Seattle
That was
thing.
Sammy Watkins. They're like, dude, this guy's a monster. And I'm trying to think. There was a guy Seattle drafted. Oh, God, I feel like it was
Seattle's almost they're very Raider. They're little better than the Raiders when it comes to drafting. They are exciting to watch as well.
the Seahawks drafted a linebacker in the first round. This is years ago.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think
Yeah,
of who.
yeah. Kid from West Virginia.
Yes, and everybody said. I mean, it was all they said was he's the most pro-ready guy. He can't miss. No way. Aaron Curry.
Curry.
Yeah,
Oh no. I was thinking of somebody else, but he was a linebacker from Wake Forest.
yeah. Wake Forest. Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
got
remember this guy. I do remember this guy.
most ready. Great pick. I think he was out of the league in like 4 years.
Yeah, the Giants had him like 2 years later, cut him, and it was like he was
Did-
young.
I think the Raiders picked him up, and then I think he was done. Oh man, it's so you get so excited on draft night, and
Yeah.
then that's what happens.
I gotta figure out who was that. It was a defensive end.
He was. You talking about Seattle?
Yeah, who was it?
It was the idiot, the guy,
Bruce Irvin.
Bruce Irvin.
Oh yeah, that was a big. He had a good
He
career
had a
though.
good career, but do you remember when they picked him? Like
Yeah.
nobody had him in the first round.
Oh
No.
no, they got killed for
He had a
it.
good career. I mean, I would like to see he was drafted like right after him on that draft. But
Yeah, but he
So-
was
so-
he was who I thought you were thinking of because I remember everybody's watching that and people like who, but he ended
Yeah,
up having
yeah.
a pretty solid career.
He
That's
did
a-
have a good career. Curry, so he signed with the Giants, but he never played with them.
Yeah, I remember that draft specifically, like you said. This is the can't miss guy in the first round, the safest
Yep.
pick.
yeah.
Yep.
he-
His fifth year, he played 2 games for Oakland, and then had one tackle.
Well, I mean, some of these guys come in too, right? Like they were the man and gods in college, right? They get to the
Yeah.
NFL, and it's a job,
Yeah,
and it's just so much more. And some people are just like, I can't do it.
sure. And I've said this all the time. A lot of these guys, they are the best athlete, right? And depending on where you play, a lot of times some of the other teams that you play, you're the best.
Yep.
In the pros, everybody's good.
Yep.
Everybody's fast. I mean, I say it to my kids all the time. I said, watch this guy track down the quarterback. He weighs 360 pounds. Most people are bedridden and they can't get up to take a piss. This guy's chasing down, and like it's unbelievable how
I
athletic.
mean, but think about the state of that now. You have guys back in the day that was not the norm. Now you have guys over 300 pounds regularly breaking 5 flat on their 40, which
Yeah.
is just stupid.
Just
That's like
crazy.
getting hit by a train.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we will wrap this up. We're going long. I guess 10th pick, real quick. Thoughts about just
It's got to be
Chicago?
an offensive line. We all watched Chicago last year. If it's not an offensive lineman, they should be all fired. Their scout team should be fired. The draft team should be fired. It's got to be an offensive line. It has to be.
I've seen stuff from Warren there too, though.
Yeah, so that they have Warren. This one has Warren there.
Well,
man,
I mean, I tend to agree with you, Tom, because they are just as bad as the Giants up front.
I mean, we watched them. We watched a lot of their games, and this guy is running around. He had no time. We watched that Seattle game. It was one of the worst games ever watched.
And it's not like the Giants don't have other weapons, right?
Right.
You talk about the Bears.
No, I'm talking about the
Oh,
Bears.
no. Yeah. I know.
One bad
I was
offensive
thinking-
line to the next. It's just
Yeah. We said all line.
Bears have some weapons.
That's what I'm saying. It's not like they don't have weapons.
Yeah, they just didn't have time.
Right? They got a Dunze. They got who's the number one receiver? Why am I?
It was a Dunze.
No, that's the number one draft pick. But then they have who's they're
Oh, the quarterback?
no the other receiver that they have.
Dunze.
They have another guy. That's their number one.
Crazy.
you know their GM is from Canandaigua, right?
DJ Moore.
Oh, more. Yeah.
DJ Moore and a Dunze. So they got weapons there. It's got to be O line. Their defense
It has to be O-line.
got to be O line.
I agree. It has to be a line. I mean, it has to be. I'd be shocked.
Quick wish list, Tommy. What do you want the Bills to get?
It's simple. They're going on the defensive side. D tackle. I think they need a corner. I think there's a little better at corner available at that point. I see them going corner. They're shorthanded there a little bit. They lost Rasul Douglas. They were in the Kansas City game. They were once one guy got hurt. They were really shown that they had no depth at the position. So I see them going corner.
Yeah.
But whatever they do, they're going defensive side.
Yeah, first they have to. Seattle. Seattle. I mean, what? Let's just keep drafting O linemen. I mean, just keep doing it
Yeah.
until someone can play and help improve. I know there's people seem to think that they need a receiver. I think they got a good number one receiver. I think they got running backs. I actually they have a guy, Jake Bobo, that I just wish would get a couple more targets. I really wish that they would almost reach out to Tyler Lockett and see what he would play for if he would come back and play on a deal. But I don't want to go receiver that early. I think you can get other guys. There's other spots in the draft to do it. They got 2 second-round picks in the 50s, so I'm hoping it's an offensive line, and I hope it actually works out. But,
Right.
so.
It's funny with you, like the Bills seem to draft offensive linemen and they never miss. That's the one position they do draft really well, yeah, and either it's coaching or whatever. But they got Brown. They drafted in the 3rd round, and he just gave him a contract. Their center, they lose their center. They get rid of him. They get a center. Yep. He's great. They drafted the tackle in the guard in the 2nd round last year. Stud. I mean, it's funny how some teams just are good at certain, and the Bills cannot draft a defensive rusher for life of them. They do it every year, and they can't do it. So it's funny how some positions they can dominate that.
They draft like decent guys. They're decent.
They're decent, and they're yeah.
I liked Epinesa coming out of college a lot.
Yeah, well, he's my least favorite Bill, Nate. You mean 1 game a year, Epinesa? Oh, I have 4 sacks against the Dolphins. Oh man, that guy's good.
Yeah, I thought he would be. I thought he'd be a good.
But he's like this. He's a Bill. He's what Joe just said. They're all okay.
They're okay.
But they all have the ability to disappear. Also, so
watching them this year, just obviously from a different standpoint, not a fan. I know Hamlin's a great story, but my God,
he's awful.
He's an absolute liability back there.
He's a human being back there.
Yeah.
I mean, a great story. I've mastered him. He is a player. You can get a player anywhere. You couldn't
run. There were certain defenses like they can't run that because
they can't. No, they wanted Bishop to get that position.
Yeah.
They wanted Bishop to get that position. He got hurt early in training camp, so he couldn't even really battle for it.
There's some decent.
Hamlin's a liability. He's a person that knows the defense, and yeah.
There's some decent safeties in the draft too.
Yeah, I've read that the Bills are interested in safeties as well.
There's a couple
but it's going to be corner, safety, something like that.
Yeah.
That's where I think they're going to go.
Tom, any chance? I know you were on this about a month ago. Any chance Dart goes before Sanders?
No, it doesn't look that way. But I still think Dart is going to end up being the better player.
I agree, and if I already made my pick, but my wish list, I would love to see the Giants try to trade up and grab him. I think he's got a little.
I have in my mock draft they trade up to draft Shedeur at 32. He's not going to be there at 32.
No,
but I can see Dart being there, maybe, and I don't see that. I think the Steelers take him.
You both think Dart's going to be better than Sanders?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. I think that. I don't know. I've watched him a bunch. I think he's got a little bit of moxie to him that is not. It's confident. It's not cocky. I think he's athletic enough. He's got a great arm. I think he needs to sit a year, and learn a little bit. And I think that's why it'd be a great situation from the Giants. Like, okay, learn from these 2 wackos, and then maybe take the job at some point. But I'd love to see the Giants trade back up into the first at some point.
The Giants have a very religious room. I mean, quarterback room. They are
be a room of
very good, wholesome people.
What speeches are going to be said before
they're going to be talking about? I mean, they're going to be. Oh man, Jameis has to get at least 5 games though, so we can get some quotes, some interviews.
Oh, yeah.
I'm already getting stressed out about this situation. I can't even.
All right. Well, Nate, appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me,
Hope
man.
you had a good time.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you, Tom. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
All right, Thursday, we will see how it all shakes out. There's been a whole bunch of talk about it. We will see what ends up happening. We'll probably have, obviously, a post-draft episode at some point. So,
everybody had an A+ draft, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, except for when Seattle stretches and takes guys in crushed. But so I hope you guys enjoy the draft. Sit around with some family, friends, have yourself a beverage, and hope your team does well and they don't get the boo treatment, right?
Yeah.
I do like when the fans totally boo though.
Yeah.
For some, it's great. So
like they know this guy at all.
Appreciate it. For you guys that listen, we are on all 4 of the major podcast stations: iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Hope you guys enjoy the draft, and happy draft day coming up.
Yep.
Take care, guys.
We will be back with an episode soon to talk about NBA and NHL playoffs and how that's kind of gone.
Yep.
All right.
See you soon.
See yous. Have a good night, boys.
See ya.